This is the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show, episode 54, with Vernon Foster.
The Entrepreneur Unleashed. The Entrepreneur Unleashed. The Entrepreneurs Unleashed. The podcast where purpose and passion become revenue streams. Be real. Take a stand. Change lives. Here's your host, Patty Keating.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show. I'm your host, Patty Keating. Entrepreneurs everywhere are creating a new breed of business success. They're making their own rules, taking a stand for their purpose, leading through integrity, and making money by changing lives. Join me each week for compelling messages that will inspire and empower you to unleash your true purpose. Today's guest is Vernon T Foster II. He is the founder and CEO of PodParrot.com. He's a highly sought-after podcast educator, speaker, and consultant, and he continually finds new ways to innovate and strategically leverage podcasting as a viable platform for startups, CEOs, and professionals. Hi, Vernon.
What's up, Patty? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. We haven't connected in a while, so it's cool to hang out with you, as always.
It's really cool. I was reading through your bio and I was thinking of how many people need to learn how to use their podcast. So I'm excited to jump in and share your wisdom with the audience today.
Fantastic.
Tell us how this all started. What inspired you? How did this Pod Parrot company come to be?
Well, we took flight back in 2013 when I launched my very first podcast. Humble beginnings. I was going to interview a bunch of DJs and make this magnificent DJ empire course where you could sell it online, and I was going to be great. Well, that didn't happen. So that took me to my next podcast, which was a podcast called Event Supremacy. I actually had you on as a guest because I came from the event space. I actually was throwing raves for a living for quite some time. And I said, business people need events too. So I kind of transitioned that and I started doing small, like 200 person conferences at hotels and booking it out and stuff like that. And then I saw an opportunity that I didn't really see a lot of people jumping on. And that was just to offer services, because I saw that podcasting was, kind of becoming more and more relevant. But what I didn't see was a lot of service offerings out there, people who would do a lot of the back end or the birdie work, as we called it, for podcasters. A lot of that has changed now. The market is actually a lot different than it was. There's a lot of podcasters too. And then there's a lot of people that jump into podcasting, think that it's just for content and authority. But the way we use it is a lot different. We use it more as a lead generation tool and a tool for prospecting.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear a little bit about that because, I recommend, I've had this show for a couple years now and people ask me, why do you do it? How's it going? Should I start my own? That's the $1 million question that people are wondering. And the answer lies in, what's its job in your business? What are you doing it for? A lot of people talk about authority. There aren't a lot of people. Well, there's a lot of people talking about monetizing it, but they're questioning how. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that. Tell us what you've bumped into along the way when you started this business.
Ooh, yeah, we were just talking before the call, and selling stuff to people who don't have money is not a good idea.
Right.
So entrepreneurs, people that are just getting started are that's not who I serve. I kind of figured that out the hard way when I was first launched. It was bootstrapped, like when you're first getting something started up, you try to just get whatever you can. It's very scrappy. You don't have a lot of stuff. You don't have a team. You're just doing whatever you can to survive and to bring in revenue. So a lot of I started doing stuff, actually for free. And then I became a kind of somewhat a freelancer, I guess, if you will. And then from there, I just started to see that people didn't have the income to support the price points that I needed to actually build a team, to actually build a sustainable income for myself off of what I was doing. And I had to get creative and go back to the drawing board, and figure out who was it that that could benefit from this, and how to get in front of those people. Because the tricky thing with like any evolving technology, there's a lot of education that has to be done on the front end, right? Like a lot of people, know content marketing, or they hear these buzzwords like authority, content marketing, and they don't even understand what that really means. But when you talk to people in terms of leads, when you say, well, this is, how we're going to get you in front of, 300 people this year, or, this is how we're going to go out and prospect for your new clients this year. You're not going to have, do any cold calling or cold emailing. When you speak in that language, it resonates more with people. When you talk about RSS feeds and downloads and Lipson, and it just kind of goes over people's heads,
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you move through the challenge of finding yourself back at the drawing board, starting new?
I surrounded myself around people who were astute, business professionals, coaches, mentors, people that could really objectively look at my business and say, hey, dude, you're probably not doing it right. And they were kind of like a sounding board for me to really hone in on what it was that I was delivering, right? Because, when I used to speak to people before, it'd be like, well, here's how we're going to build you into an authority, or here's how we're going to generate content. And that's not a measurable, I guess it can be if you have a lot of downloads, you can measure the number of downloads you have. But, when it comes to business, the only three things that matter are leads, conversions, and fulfillment. So if you're not providing something in that spectrum, then you're not really solving anyone's problem. So I had to go back to the drawing board. They helped me hone in on what it was that people really needed. And at the end of the day, we all know that lifebloods are the leads of every single business. And the two reasons why people won't do business with you, let me ask you this, Patty, what do you think are the two reasons why people won't do business with you?
I would guess they don't see the value, or they don't think they need you.
Okay, I got it. So that's pretty close. I'd say like don't see the value in terms of like you haven't built enough trust to kind of maybe get in there to show them exactly what it is that you're offering, right? So you're not even going to make it to the value conversation if you can't even get through the front door, right? Value is not even a question yet. So in order to get to the front door, people have to know you, like you, and trust you. And if you don't sell on the first go around, or the first time you meet somebody, and we can't predict when people will buy, so we always have to be there. The second thing is that you don't have a system to follow up with people, right? You're not consistently following up. A lot of this stuff isn't automated. You're letting sales fall through the cracks. So that's what we do. We provide a systemized, lead generation approach that's done for you. And on the back end, we also build out campaigns and Infusion Active Campaign to follow up with these people to continually build a relationship. So now you're in through the front door, and then you can have that value conversation. If they don't see the value right now, that doesn't mean they won't see the value down the road. So they're actually in a campaign, they're actually in a systemized funnel that will follow up with them. And whenever they're ready to buy, you'll be there. You'll be at top of mind.
Why don't you reiterate what you learned as a result of going back to the drawing board?
What I learned was that you have to, I think one, surround yourself around people who are smarter than you. Hire a coach, right? Hire some, or, if you can't hire a coach, add value to people's lives who you want to be around. And through osmosis, you'll eventually, start to pick up on what they're doing and how they're successful. The other thing is that the only thing that matters in business is results, right? Like all this foo-foo, like online people, when we have business, we get caught up in like vanity metrics, right? Downloads, Facebook likes and retweets and all that stuff is great. But if you can't eat downloads, right? Downloads, if your downloads aren't putting a check in your mailbox, then you need to reevaluate, what you're doing. And for me, like I was trying to sell people that. I was trying to sell people something that wasn't a tangible result. Like I can sell you leads. Now, I can sell you automation. I can sell, like, that's sellable, but downloads, retweets, and social, I guess that is. Some people sell that and they do a really good job at it. But for me, for the people that I want to serve, for real people that run businesses, all they care about is leads, conversions, and fulfillment at the end of the day.
That's right. What are you passionate about right now? So you've got your business where you like it and it's rolling. Tell me what you're passionate about.
Just passionate about service, and not just through my business. I'm passionate about humanity. I'll say that. I'm passionate about figuring out ways to collectively improve the world around us, because I feel like even if we're not successful, like if you're successful or not, I think we all have a duty as human beings to the people that will come after us. I don't have any kids. I know you do, Patty. I want to leave this world a better place than it was before I came here. And in order for me to do that, it's important that I not waste the gift or the gifts that I have and hoard those gifts and be selfish with those gifts. It's important to me. It's important for me to share. It's important for me to educate, even with something as simple as a podcast, right? By somebody tuning in and listening to this, they are becoming, I hate to say the word better because it insinuates that you're lacking. And I don't feel like we lack. I just feel like it's an understanding, or, we haven't quite figured out who we are yet. But I think that's my passion, right? Just serving people to help them understand that there's more inside them that they haven't discovered.
That's really cool. So expanding human potential, I'm hearing a little bit of.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, that's very cool. In that one area, what do you see for yourself for the next, say, 5 years?
So I have this idea that I want to build a retreat. I want to build a place where people can come and heal. I don't know if it'll be in America. It'll probably be in South America, Central America. I travel a lot. So I want to build this place. I have a vision of this place where my friends can come, my family can come, and they can just like leave all the baggage behind, and they can let go and be free and just recharge their batteries and recoup and kind of get closer to who they are as a person inside and flourish from there. I want it to be something that it's open to anybody to come. Obviously my family will have it there, but yeah, that's kind of my vision of what I want to create, in terms of this whole human potential thing and helping people become the best version of themselves.
You and I have a similar mission. My mission is to help people remember who they are. And I'm hearing that with you, really helping people understand and embrace their potential.
Yeah. Because I say it's an inside job, whatever success in quotes is, it's an inside job. And the more that I've discovered over, the last, this is all recent for me, right? Like I've always been a personal development junkie, right? Like, but a lot of that stuff out there, you can read and read and read and read, and you're like, well, I wonder why nothing has changed. And I think it's because we don't do the inner work. And for me, it wasn't until I started taking up a physical practice, something that I could physically reconnect with my body. And when something came up, I started to understand like, okay, well, if somebody says something to me and I get this knot in my stomach, there's probably, something that I need to explore deeper there, right? So I got really the physical element. There was always the spiritual or the personal development thing. I loved, books like Think and Grow Rich. Right now I'm reading Power of Now. So that's the books have always been there, but there wasn't this physical connection that I had with me to understand the inner me.
Yeah, that's like the integration. That's just so cool. I need to work out. Like working out, I've been doing this high intensity interval training.
Right.
That is my meditation.
I love it.
I do too. It's like,
what is that, like a regiment that you do like a couple times a week or
every other day?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just started up with this. I'll give a shout out to Orange Theory. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a new chain fitness.
Right. I've seen them in Orlando.
Yeah, their goal is to keep you, in the orange zone, which is fat burning or higher, for at least 12 minutes. And I'm so competitive. They have everybody's numbers up on the TV screen. And I'm like, what? that person's a little bit ahead of me. So yeah, I totally agree with the physicality. I think that's how you really do integrate everything that you've been learning. And, if you're not paying attention to that knot in your stomach when someone says something, you're not growing.
Right.
So that's awesome. The retreat center, keep me posted on that. I'll definitely come visit.
Yeah, you can come out.
I'd love that.
Be one of the first guests.
All right, we'll do a live show. Let's talk a little bit more about personal growth. What's the best advice that you ever received?
This was hard because there's a lot of advice out there. There's a lot of good advice. There's a lot of bad advice too. When I thought of this question, I'm going to give you the first thing that came to mind when I thought of this question. Because I was stumped. I was actually kind of like stumped a little bit, but then I thought about it. I walked away and then I thought about it again because I had listened to a previous episode. And there's a book by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's called The Four Agreements. And one of those four agreements is always do your best. And I think it's so simple, but it's so, complex at the same time, because when you do your best, you can't really expect more from yourself. And we live in a world where like, we'll look at other people and we'll be like, well, they have that, or, I need to be right there. The important thing is that if we're always using ourselves as the metric, I think we don't have any problems. Like the problems arise when we aren't doing our best with ourselves. So I think that's why it's so simple yet so profound.
So on this journey of entrepreneurship, what kind of personal growth have you experienced?
Whew. I mean, don't they go together?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest personal development journey you could ever sign up for starts with the letter E, entrepreneurs.
Start a business. That's a personal. They should give you a business and like 3 business like books, right?
Yeah.
Like because you're gonna need these along the journey. I think for me, over the last probably year and a half, what's really been the biggest for me, because I've always read books. I mean, I read more books. Funny enough, I read more books after I graduated college than when I was in college. I've read, all the Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I've read a lot of business books, but for me, it was really incorporating the physical practice and yoga and through yoga and kind of connecting not just the wisdom, but the physical, So I have the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical now, and that all combines to create this balance, this wheel, if you will. I have all these things and when all those things are in balance and they're flowing in tune, there's a direct correlation between how in my business life and in my personal life. I don't think they're interchangeable. I think they go together. But once those things are firing on all cylinders, you become, unstoppable, or at least for me, I feel that way.
So what kind of tools, what gadgets do you use to make your life easier?
Tools. I love tools. Right now, for what we use for our business and some of our clients, a couple are, you probably know of Acuity, right? Because you use Schedule Once. So Acuity is very similar to Schedule Once, although you can build in some sequences, some emails for follow-up, for pre and post follow-up, which we do. Trello, which I'm sure you know of, right?
Yeah.
Scrivener. Scrivener is a great writing tool. If anyone has to write blog posts, ebooks, or anything, it's fantastic. It kind of keeps you can close like all the other apps on your computer and just focus on this. And then you can add it has like different tabs where you can add resources and notes, and you can link in YouTube video. Like you can have like a whole separate like content bank with, I guess, like resources if you need to go back and reference. A lot of people use it to write books.
Oh, wow.
That's a pretty cool tool that I used this year.
We'll get all of these in the show notes page, guys. And the show notes will be at pattykeating.com/Vernon T Foster.
There's another one too, Connector, that I want to mention because I think this is really cool. So instead of just sending like an email, you can use a tool called Connector. It's by contentmarketer.io, I believe that's what it is. And you basically, if you're gonna like do outreach to somebody, a lot of times they won't follow up they won't respond to the first email. So unless you like go back through your Gmail or you set some kind of thing to follow up, then you won't you'll get lost.
Yeah.
So what Connector does is it sends out a chain of emails. You can send I usually have like a 3 email sequence. So if the second one doesn't get them, the third one definitely gets them, because I'm like, hey guys, I know you're busy, but I just really need to know if you're into this. And you'd be surprised. People responding, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I seen this came in the other day. I just got really busy.
Yeah.
But it's all automated. So I really love that.
So if they respond, does it turn it off?
Yeah. So if they respond, it ends the campaign. Then you get notifications when people respond.
Oh, I'm definitely getting that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Email is my nemesis. All right, so let's see. What about podcasts, blogs, books? What are you reading? What are you listening to?
Cool. Yeah, so my brother actually just released a book, Navigate to Greatness. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
He's his first book, Power of Podcasting. So a guy heard his podcast, reached out to him and said, hey, I want to help you write a book. It's pretty crazy.
So we'll get that in the show notes too. Awesome.
And then I'm reading right now, The Power of Now. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah, I've read that.
Yeah, great book. Eckhart Tolle. It's a fantastic book. Fantastic. I mean, can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I would consider rereading. I haven't read that for a few years.
And then in terms of podcasts, I'm kind of weird. Probably a lot of people who come on your show probably will mention a lot of business podcasts, but I'm very like deep in my thought process, and like probably you can tell by the book I recommended. The podcast I'm going to recommend is On Being by Krista Tippett. Have you heard that show?
No, I'm going to go listen to it though.
Fantastic show. I mean, she interviews the most incredible people. Guy that lived in Japan, in the mountains, and he's traveled for the last 17 years, and all he does is write and share kind of his life story. And once a year he goes to Northern California to live in a monastery with a bunch of monks, and just craziness like that. People that are doing some really remarkable things that we never really hear about in popular media or pop culture.
So we'll definitely include that. And then what about you? If the listeners want to contact you or find out more about getting some leads from their podcast, how can they reach you?
Yeah. So I actually have a workflow, like the tools I just mentioned. A lot of that goes into the outreach campaigns that you build out, for lead generation. So I'll just hook all of your guests up if they want to go to podparrot.com/unleashed, and they'll have the workflow of how they use those tools and then links to those tools.
Oh, great. Thank you.
No problem.
We'll definitely put that link in there. That's a really valuable asset for people who are trying to figure out how to do all this.
Absolutely.
Okay, so looking back, if you were to start all over, do this all over, what words would you have for your younger self?
Life or business?
Oh, you choose.
If I my younger self in general, I'll just combine them. I would say travel further, worry less, and spend twice as much time on discovering yourself as you do on anything else. And just, the inner work, like I mentioned earlier.
Words of wisdom. Thank you so much, Vernon.
Thank you, Patty.
Appreciate it. If you're a visionary leader who has a message for the world and you're ready to unleash your greatness, you don't want to miss this transformational 3-day event coming up in Portland, Oregon, Unleashed Live, where you will learn the exact steps to find your money spot, that place where your purpose and passion become revenue streams. You'll understand how to create a compelling message that resonates with your unique set of ideal clients so you can help more people, make more money, and create the freedom lifestyle business of your dreams. Head on over to pattykeating.com/unleashed-live to learn more and get registered for the live event in Portland, Oregon. See you there. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show. If you did, please go to pattykeating.com and let me know what you're up to this year in your business. While you're there, be sure to grab your copy of 5 Quick Ways to Share Your Expertise.